Funding for Schaff is provided by Surfshark VPN. Tune in till the end to find out about their amazing service. Hello chaps, it's me, Schaff, here with another director ranking. My most heavily requested one by far. In fact, this may genuinely be my most requested video to date. You lot have been foaming at the mouth waiting for me to release a ranking of one of the most well-known, dare I say, infamous directors of all time. That's right, it's time to rank the filmography of Tim Hill. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone on the planet obviously knows who Tim Hill is. But just in case you've been living elsewhere in the solar system, allow me to briefly discuss this man's work. Tim Hill is a bloke who served as a writer and director for various cartoons, including Rocco's Modern Life and the first season of SpongeBob SquarePants. But this would not satiate Tim. No. He had ambitions far beyond these, and he soon established himself as a Hollywood film director with his debut feature, Muppets from Space. If only Tim had stopped there, he might have gone down as one of the most consistent and acclaimed film directors of all time. But it was not meant to be. This man is responsible for so many cinematic atrocities in a wide variety of franchises and studios. He tried his hand at a Disney film with Max Keeble's Big Move. Then he signed with Fox to direct the utterly loathsome sequel, Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. Fox, of course, was so impressed with his work that they let him bastardize Alvin and the Chipmunks in their first feature film. Afterwards, he would get his hand on an Illumination project, one that I have no desire to speak the name of again out of fear of its unholy retribution. He then followed this abomination up with a Lifetime movie about Grumpy Cat, the viral internet sensation, entitled Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever. He then returned to his roots with the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run, and finally, he directed a small, independent feature starring Robert De Niro entitled The War with Grandpa. This man and his filmography truly astounds me. He just gets a hand in so many franchises and so many studios, making these children's films that all sort of live in infamy to some extent. I would never say I hate all of these films, I just dislike the vast majority of them. I don't think he's devoid of talent as a director. I just think he often saddles himself with the worst possible scripts known to man. Out of his 8 films, he is only credited as a co-writer on Sponge on the Run and Grumpy Cat. I truly believe the worst elements of Tim Hill's films are not his fault, and I mean no ill will towards the man himself. I am making this ranking, in fact, not only because of how heavily requested it is, but because of how fascinated I am by this enigma of a filmmaker. I mean, what must be going on inside the head of the man who made Hop? Oh blimey, I said its goddamn name. Bloody hell. Very well, let's not beat around the bush. It's time to talk about the worst Tim Hill movie by a landslide.
Disappointment in the game of life!
I have nothing new to say about the despicably abhorrent Hop. I believe I made my position on this film quite clear in not one, but 2 bloody videos that had it ranked near the bottom. Hop is quite simply one of the most unfathomable pieces of rubbish to ever reach the cinema. I did not find a lick of it funny nor charming on my second and, with any luck, final viewing of the film. And yet, despite knowing every single terrible thing about it, I still couldn't help but feel gobsmacked by so many of the little bits and bobs about this film. Why on earth is James Marsden chosen to be the Easter Bunny at the end? This bloke can't even hold down a normal job in the real world! And yet he's somehow qualified to take charge of one of the most important holidays in the history of civilization? Jesus didn't come back to life for this! God, I am simply appalled at the atrocious treatment of Carlos in this film. This chick puts in years of loyal servitude, and rather than let him be the Easter Bunny, you laugh in his face and give the job to the first random, unqualified white guy you come across? James Marsden in this movie is a DEI hire! I mean, really. Carlos worked his ass off to get to where he was, and James Marsden takes these shortcuts and suddenly thinks he's his peer? He does what Carlos does because he's funny and he can make people laugh? Carlos committed his life to this! Jimmy Marsden can't just slip into it like a cheap pair of slippers and then reap all the rewards. He's Slippin' Jimmy! And Slippin' Jimmy I can handle just fine. But Slippin' Jimmy with the powers of the Easter Bunny is like a grumpy cat with a machine gun. Easter is sacred! If you abuse that power, people get hurt! I should have stopped him when I had the chance! And you have to stop him! Sorry, what was I saying? Oh yes, Hop is a bad movie with no redeeming qualities that I would not recommend to anyone under any circumstances.
Garfield, you fat cat.
I distinctly remember being a child no older than 8, watching my cartoons on the telly, enjoying the raucous and hilarious actions of SpongeBob, Timmy Turner, Jimmy Neutron, and Tony Soprano. But in between the airings of these delightful television programs, I kept seeing advertisements for a film that looked so atrocious that I would go up to my dear mother and say, "Mommy, I don't want to see that film in the theater. Please don't take me to see that. I want to see The Ant Bully instead." What was this film that inspired such an icy reception from my 8-year-old self? Well, my dears, it was obviously Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. In particular, I could not stand this clip of the little orange bastard going, "Odie, please don't do the ugly American thing." Then I suppose the dog pisses on the guard, and it cuts to the cat and dog running away as the cat says, "The British are coming! The British are coming!" That joke is drilled into my head as one of the most obnoxious things I have ever had to endure in television advert history. Right up there with a similar orange bastard, the Lorax, going, "That's a woman?" Unbelievable trite. The difference is I actually saw the Lorax in theaters as a kid because I was going through a Danny DeVito phase. I never seeked out Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties until this fateful ranking video. Was this film as abysmal as I expected? Yeah, I'd say so. Garfield is voiced by Bill Murray, who on paper is a perfect fit for the character, even though he was tricked into accepting the role or something. I don't know all the details, look it up yourself, I'm not your dad. Good casting on paper, but much like Daniel DeVito as the Lorax, good casting can only take you so far when your writing is complete shite. Goodness gracious, is Garfield unfunny in this? Bafflingly so. I did not crack a smile once at anything this wanker had to say. Also, I may not be an expert on Garfield lore, but why is he so energetic in this? Is he not supposed to be a lazy fat cat? How do you miss the point of Garfield so thoroughly? Very well then, what is the plot? Garfield happens to switch places with a British royal cat who looks exactly like him, which is a ridiculous and unrealistic scenario. I mean really, how on earth has John never seen a picture of this famous royal cat and realized that he looks identical to Garfield? Utter insanity. In any case, the royal cat is voiced by Tim Curry, and that's nice I suppose. It would be nice if he had anything funny to say, but I suppose that's too much to ask from such a woefully incompetent film. So Garfield is plucked out of his humdrum everyday life and allowed to live it up in the royal palace. He wrecks a bunch of things, he cooks lasagna with all these other barnyard animals. There's a boring evil guy who wants to dispose of him because the inciting incident for the plot is basically the exact same as the Aristocats. A lady left her inheritance to a cat and some bumbling buffoon is unhappy about that. So the animals have to get rid of him through some tired and unimaginative slapstick. I don't know, have you ever seen a boring generic kids movie before? It's like that. This movie is every boring generic kids movie cliche rolled into one. They even have Garfield overhearing a conversation from the other animals about how incompetent he is, and that gets him very sad. Oh, aren't you emotionally invested in this trite development you've seen in a million other movies? Unbelievable. I thoroughly despised this movie. Nearly every second of it was boring or painful. There's this musical number that could have been very fun if it was actually well put together and flowing visually, or if Bill Murray could even muster the slightest amount of effort into his vocal performance. Just an utter piece of rubbish that couldn't even offer me the slightest bit of enjoyment. My girlfriend asked me if there was anything I liked about the film, and I sat there for 30 seconds trying to come up with anything I could possibly say. And the only thing I could muster was, well, it was better than Hop. Alright, I'd like to finally move on, but before I do, let me leave you with some sage words of wisdom this movie provided.
He's a disgrace to the furry race. disgusting.
Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind?
Alright, what's next on the bloody docket? Oh, bugger, it's The War with Grandpa. Starring Robert De Niro? Oh, skin me alive and serve me with tea and crumpets. It's no secret that Robert De Niro, a true acting legend for decades now, has become notoriously unpicky with the roles he takes on as of late. He'll happily take a paycheck for any shite comedy that falls far beneath his talents as a performer. I mean, cheese and crackers. Thank goodness Martin Scorsese is still around to cast him in real movies, to remind the world that yes, he is still a real actor. You would never be able to tell watching The War with Grandpa, a movie where his performance is trite. It's fine, it's serviceable. He doesn't seem completely bored out of his mind, just mildly bored. He also brings along Christopher Walken and Cheech from Cheech and Chong, and the three of them have rather fun chemistry, I suppose. Also, the mom is Uma Thurman. Tim, what blood pact did you make to get this cast? Goodness, it's just overflowing with talent. Good thing the writing is equally as strong as the actors here. Oh wait, no it's not at all. The premise of the film revolves around the grandpa moving in with his family and taking the boy's room. So the boy has to relocate to the attic. Well, he doesn't like that, and so he declares war to try and get the room back. I'm sorry, this boy may be psychotic. I mean, the grandpa is perfectly nice and kind, and he's grieving over the loss of his dead wife. Am I supposed to be endeared by this kid torturing his grandfather, who doesn't even fight back for a decent chunk of the film? I hate this bugger. He's utterly unlikable and immature to a baffling and uncomfortable degree. The grandpa has a sweet scene where he tells his granddaughter, I used to build houses, and every single time I built one, I put a marble in this jar so I have a fond remember of my life's work. And then the little twat super glues the jar to the table and causes all the marbles to spill and fall down the ventilation system, never to be seen again. These physical mementos of this man's life's work, just gone. All because this fucker couldn't handle living in the attic. Keep in mind that the grandfather didn't even take the room from him. It was his parents who told him to relocate, since this elderly man would be more comfortable in a room that's on the same floor as the bathroom. The grandfather did absolutely nothing wrong. This child is just evil. If the grandpa was a twat, I would understand these aggressive pranks a little bit better. But he's not! You're just bullying a poor grieving old man, and it's not fun! It's miserable! I was miserable watching this bloody film! I will say, there was actually one scene towards the middle that I kind of enjoyed and thought was pretty fun. The boy and the grandpa agree to a winner-takes-all battle royale in the form of a 4-on-4 trampoline dodgeball game. You know what? This was actually pretty fun and engaging. It was nice to see them compete in something they both agreed on, instead of just relentlessly attacking each other with petty pranks. And it had plenty of fun bits. Of course, it all ends in a draw, and then they're back to just pranking each other like nothing happens. I sure do love pointless scenes that don't advance the plot or the characters. Thank you, Tim. Very cool. They then have a nice fishing scene together, where it seems like they're bonding and putting this petty feud behind them. Except no, then they just get back to pranking each other. What is the point of watching these scenes in order? Nothing ever progresses or changes between them until the very end. They just keep pranking each other, and it gets so old. At one point, Robert De Niro accidentally shows his son-in-law his cock and balls. Okay, I'm sorry, I was actually lying about that. He doesn't do that once, because he does it twice! Goodness gracious, make it stop! Eventually, it's the little girl's birthday party, and the two of them agree to no pranks. A little truce, so they don't ruin her party. But then the boy bloody instigates some pranks anyway! He nearly kills Christopher Walken in the process! What is wrong with this demented child? I never liked him once! Across this entire film! I'm losing my goddamn mind! Okay, I'm sorry, that wasn't in the script. I literally just, I couldn't hold it in any longer. Oh my god. Why did I rank this higher than Garfield? This isn't in the script either. I'm sorry, I need to just take a breather and fucking recoup before I continue this. Oh my god. In case you're curious, I would still rank this film above the Wii U Battle Mode Toad's Turnpike. Okay, where was I? This kid is just an ultimately obnoxious, cheeky bastard. He deserves to get his castle blown up in fake medieval Minecraft Fortnite. He deserves to get constantly bullied at school by the bully who says, that happened every single time he commits a bullying. The entire time I watched this travesty, I just longed for the sweet wonders of Max Keeble's Big Move, a Tim Hill film I don't even particularly like, and yet it managed to have so much more personality and humor, despite releasing nearly 20 years prior to this one. Timothy, my friend, you can do so much better. I know you can. To be fair, the screenwriters are mostly to blame for this travesty. It's a miserable, mean-spirited affair that has a couple funny bits here and there, thanks to a talented cast. But for the most part, I could not wait for it to be over with. Though, to be fair, it was Robert De Niro's most memorable film performance since Shark Tale. Oh, God, I'm sorry, editor. I'm so sorry about the audio on this one. Oh my God. Alright, before we continue on with this bugger of a ranking, how about we take a quick dip over to Sponsorland and talk about Surfshark VPN, a bloomin' incredible product that encrypts your data and protects you online. With Surfshark, you can trick your browser into thinking you're in another country, thus allowing you to access exclusive Netflix or Disney Plus content you couldn't get otherwise. See something you want to watch but can't get on one of your American streaming services? Just pretend you're British. My mate did that once. He put on a whole unconvincing accent and everything. But you don't need to do that. Just use Surfshark to switch to British Netflix and you're all set. Plus, use its Surfshark alert system to get alerts anytime your email address or password is compromised. Surfshark Alert scans various databases of leaked information and notifies its users if their data is found so they can take action, which is an absolutely invaluable feature. Surfshark is also totally unlimited, meaning you can use it on as many devices as you like, even all at the same time. No other VPN allows this. Go to surfshark.deal/Rillis and enter promo code RILLIS to get 83% off and 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN for free. It's an amazing deal, and it's even better because it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not satisfied, you can cancel during those 30 days and get your money back. If you're looking for a great VPN, there's no reason not to give Surfshark a try. Once again, head to surfshark.deal/Rillis and enter the promo code RILLIS. Have a great time with Surfshark VPN.
Damn brat! I'll sue!
I hate Alvin and the Bloody Chipmunks. I apologize if that makes me a heartless humbug, but every time I hear that stupid Christmas song on the radio with their obnoxious, irritating voices, I feel like I'm going insane. I truly never liked them, not even when I was a child and saw bits and pieces of their films on the telly. So it truly is a magnificent feat that I did not consider this first Alvin and the Chipmunks film to be a completely painful experience. At least, not in the second half. Bloody hell, that first half was as atrocious as I expected. Just the typical load of bollocks I've come to expect from our dear friend Tim at this point. Fart jokes, out-of-place sexual jokes, Simon nearly eats Theodore's shit. I thought the Chipmunks were incredibly annoying twats, and yet I also couldn't bring myself to like Dave. I just thought he was kind of a big wanker who only really wanted to exploit their singing talents and didn't actually care about them. This turns out not to be true, but before we get to that, I really have to drill into your skull just how checked out I was during the first 40 or so minutes of this shite slog for babies. The only time I ever perked up was when I heard them watching SpongeBob on the telly, which was a clever bit of foreshadowing for one of Tim's future films, innit? But yeah, for the most part, watching these twerps constantly ruin Dave's life wasn't fun, despite the fact that I didn't really care about his life in the slightest. I should also mention, the first half of the film was thankfully made more bearable thanks to the sparse but wonderful appearances of David Cross as the villain Masayoshi Shido, who wants nothing more than to get rich off the Chipmunks. What can I say? The man is funny in just about anything, and this otherwise rather trite movie is no exception. With all that said, something truly shifts with this film at the halfway mark. Right from the scene where Theodore asks to sleep in Dave's bed because he had a nightmare, I started feeling warmth in my chest. And that kind of continued as I saw the Chipmunks constantly think of Dave as their father and refer to them all as a family. What the hell? Is this bloody movie actually starting to tug at my heartstrings a little? It gets even more interesting when Masayoshi Shido convinces them that Dave doesn't care about them and that they should go on tour with him. And then it becomes a story about the exploitation of children in the music industry, who become overworked and get robbed of so much of the simple lives they should have in the pursuit of fame. Guys, is Alvin and the Chipmunks 2007 actually giving us a bloody story worth telling? This is loads more interesting than anything Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties or The War with Grandpa had to offer. I couldn't believe it, but I wanted to see the Chipmunks break free of Shido's influence. I wanted to see them reunite with Dave. That is to say, I wouldn't call this second half of the film amazing or great, but it genuinely isn't half bad. It probably helps that David Cross gets even more screen time, which is a delight. But even apart from that, I can't say I was annoyed by anything in this second half. I still hesitate to call it good. I mean, for one thing, the movie kind of forgets to have a climax. Surely there should have been some sort of wacky chase where they try and get away from Masayoshi Shido. But no, they literally just escaped off screen, and then that's the end of the movie. They're just done. And I still find the music they perform rather irritating. I've never been a fan of these chipmunk voices. So when all is said and done, Alvin and the Chipmunks is still sort of a bad movie. I mean, the stench of that first half is inescapable. But I was pleasantly surprised that there were elements to enjoy in this film after all. Does this mean I'm an Alvin and the Chipmunks convert? Am I gonna be watching The Squeakquel next? Yeah, I'll probably get to it when I do the Betty Thomas ranking.
And you wonder why I'm grumpy!
Oh, bloody hell. You're telling me this bugger made a Grumpy Cat movie? Really? Grumpy Cat? The sodding ancient internet meme about the cat who just looks kind of grumpy? That warranted an entire movie? When will these horrors end, Tim? To be fair, it's not like there was any beloved source material to ruin here like there was for many of Tim's other projects. It's not like he bastardized SpongeBob, Garfield, or the entire holiday of Easter. With Grumpy Cat, it's like, what does that even do? It's a cat and it looks grumpy. I just... Hello? Well, the lack of imaginative possibilities in terms of a film adaptation of this meme is blatantly apparent through the simple fact that you could remove Grumpy Cat from this movie and nothing would change. I'm bloody serious. The plot is about two incompetent thieves trying to steal a very valuable dog from a pet store in a mall. Because I suppose the dog is just so amazing and wonderful that it's worth more money than all the diamonds and jewels they could steal from the diamond stores here. Okay, here's an idea for you, Tim. Since you co-wrote this film and all, what if Grumpy Cat was the MacGuffin they were trying to steal? What if Grumpy Cat actually became famous through memes, just like in real life, and she was seen as very valuable, to the point where the whole movie revolved around these thieves trying to kidnap Grumpy Cat, and her finding humorous ways to sabotage them and escape? At least then that would actually utilize the titular character, because guess what? Like I said, you could remove Grumpy Cat from this story and nothing would change. The main character is instead this little girl who has no friends. The other girls in the class are mean to her. Oh no! I don't mean to pick on a child actress, but like, she clearly does not emphasize the correct words in some of her line reads. Like right here, she finds out she can communicate with Grumpy Cat, and that Grumpy Cat can also communicate with the animals. So she says,
"You can talk to the animals too?"
The way the girl says it, it's implying that she also has the ability to talk to the animals. But she doesn't. See, you might have noticed this if you actually gave her some direction, Tim! Anyway, she's not great in the rest of this, but she's a child actress, whatever. I should mention that Grumpy Cat is voiced by Aubrey Plaza, who I quite like in other projects. I think she's a very witty actress. But the thing is, I honestly feel as if she's a poor fit for Grumpy Cat. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I actually give a shit about the mischaracterization of Grumpy Cat. But really now, her whole thing is that she's very good at playing sardonic characters, which is exactly how she acts as the voice of Grumpy Cat. But sardonic and grumpy are not quite the same thing. They're both negative, but someone who's grumpy would be a little more angry instead of just blasé and bitingly sarcastic. Why are you playing Grumpy Cat like this? Okay, I genuinely do not care. Let's just talk about the sodding movie. So yes, after the first 10 minutes where we get all those epic, relatable meme scenes out of the way, since that's the only element of this film that actually ties back to its quote-unquote source material, the rest of the movie is just a dog heist set entirely in this one mall. At times, it plays like a worse version version of Home Alone. At other times, it plays like a marginally better version of Paul Blart Mall Cop. The little girl constantly outsmarts these idiot burglars, an incompetent security guard gets involved, and Grumpy Cat is there too to make sarcastic quips and not contribute anything else. Yippee! Occasionally it cuts back to the girl's single mom at a holiday party, chatting up this guy from the mall and talking about how impressive his log is. Brilliant. These scenes are pointless. They add nothing to anything going on. Even at the beginning, Grumpy Cat swoops in on a poorly photoshopped Cupid and says, "This is a pointless B story. It doesn't matter." I would have given the film so much credit if it had just cut away after she said that and never followed up on the scene again. That would have been bloody hilarious. But it was not meant to be. Instead, the movie acknowledges that this is stupid and pointless, and it continues to do it for the rest of the film's runtime. This is not an isolated incident either. Throughout the entire film, whenever they're gearing up for a commercial break, since, you know, this is a Lifetime movie, Grumpy Cat will chime in and say, "Oh, you're still watching this terrible movie? What's wrong with you?" Well, I sure was asking myself the same question throughout the rest of it, so I guess that's fair enough. But at the same time, this isn't charming or funny. This is just sad. You have so little faith in this film, which, yes, that's fair, 100%. But at least pretend you're trying. Deadpool is a character who breaks the fourth wall very often, and sometimes he'll say, "Oh, well that was lazy writing." But that isn't the full extent of his fourth wall breaking. He doesn't constantly say every 10 minutes, "Wow, this movie is shite." But that's exactly what happens here. Grumpy Cat is actively judging you for watching this, and you just have to sit there and take it, because for some reason you're doing a fucking Tim Hill ranking, which was clearly one of the biggest mistakes of your life. I can't imagine a family watching this and enjoying Grumpy Cat constantly telling them this is a shite movie. At that point, why wouldn't they just turn it off and watch a real Christmas movie? Great golly, this is so annoying. And do you want to know the most ironic part about all of this? The movie isn't even that bad. Genuinely, I thought there were quite a few funny bits in here. I like these robbers who are also musicians and constantly bicker about Kurt Cobain or whatever. They genuinely made me laugh a few times, which is not the sort of thing I expected out of this film. We also find out the incompetent security guard these robbers tied up is a twist villain? The mastermind behind it all? I gotta admit, that genuinely took me off guard. It's not an amazing twist, but it's not a terrible one either. And they don't even wait until the last 10 minutes to reveal it. How did this film manage to have a better twist villain than most 2010 Disney films? Honestly, the occasional shenanigans these characters get up to in this mall can be pretty funny. I like a decent number of the jokes in this film. But the thing that really makes this Grumpy Cat movie a drag is Grumpy Cat, constantly interrupting the film with fourth wall breaks that don't amount to anything and usually don't make me laugh. Maybe 1 in every 15 lines out of Grumpy Cat is funny, but for the most part, the writing is so piss poor and atrocious. There are constant what-if scenarios where Grumpy Cat is like, "Well, we could do this rational or this kinda funny thing, but then the movie would be over too quickly and we can't do that, so here's what actually happened." Who cares? It's a bloody waste of time! There's a scene where it looks like Grumpy Cat is driving this car to chase the robbers, and I thought, yeah, you know what? That's funny! I'm on board with this ludicrous, unrealistic scenario. But then, of course, Grumpy Cat is like, "Nah, that didn't actually happen." Instead, what really happens is the 12-year-old girl manages to drive the car, and she drives circles around these guys. She does this sick-ass slide to get in front of them, and it's like, how the fuck are you able to do all this? Most adults couldn't even do that, and you don't even know how to drive! If you're gonna present me with something completely out of the realm of possibility anyway, then why not go all out and have the cat drive the car? Do something funny for once! Then she jousts with these guys in their cars and they go along with it even though they could have just backed up and taken a different route out of there. So they crash, but then the girl has to slam on the brakes and Grumpy Cat flies out of the car even though she would have just hit the windshield at this angle. How did she fly so high? And then they have to do a thing where it's like, oh no, is Grumpy Cat dead? Even though clearly not. What the hell is wrong with this film?
Those guys didn't do anything to you, did they?
That's a different kind of Lifetime movie.
You know what I mean?
What? What does that even mean? Good God, this film is shite. At least it did me the courtesy of just being regular bad, with some kinda funny moments and characters here and there. Like, I can't believe how much I enjoyed the incompetent musician robbers here, honestly. And the mall cop guy was okay too. If it was just a regular movie about a dog napping taking place in a mall, maybe it could have been half decent. As is, I still think it was bad, but it's not nearly as abominable as some of the other films on this list. That's a major achievement, I guess. Shout out to the Keyboard Cat and Nyan Cat appearances that made me pog at the screen. Mentally, I was cringing, but physically, I was pogging. Prior to making this painful, deeply regrettable ranking video, the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run was the only SpongeBob feature film I had never seen before. I grew up with the first film, that impeccable masterpiece that still holds up to this day, that I continue to rewatch every March 14th. And I watched the second film when it first came out, and enjoyed it for what it was. It's a pretty decent absurdist comedy. I never got around to watching the third one, however, since I heard it was bad from a lot of my mates. Of course, I heard the Sandy Cheeks movie was atrocious, and beyond irredeemable from them, and that got me interested enough to check it out, since it felt like I was missing out on a true cinematic abomination. In any case, however, I never did get around to watching that third theatrical film. But seeing as it is the only SpongeBob film to be directed by the bloke of the hour, Tim Hill, I suppose the time has finally come. Tim Hill actually has quite an expansive history with SpongeBob. Like I alluded to at the start, he served as a writer during season 1, returning to the show to work on seasons 4 and 5, and then randomly coming back to co-write and direct this film in 2020. Well, isn't that just dandy? I suppose I should give Tim some credit for providing us a film that, in all honesty, is not abysmal. I was pleasantly surprised at how charmed I was by some elements of this mostly rote and unoriginal SpongeBob romp. Its best attribute by far is the animation. This is easily Tim Hill's best looking film to date. The animation is so vibrant and expressive, being pleasing to look at and suiting the comedic bits very nicely. It doesn't look cheap at all, which cannot be said about the Sandy Cheeks movie, I can tell you that much. I decently enjoyed a lot of the humor too, particularly the deadpan and matter-of-fact lines and deliveries out of SpongeBob and Patrick. Some of their exchanges in this film were modestly amusing, and I suppose I have pre-established investment in these characters that the film didn't need to work hard on its own to achieve. When Squidward solemnly says at the end that SpongeBob doesn't deserve to die, I don't know, something about the way he says it is so genuine and powerful. It almost brings a tear to my eye. Almost. Let's not forget that this scene where SpongeBob's friends passionately make a plea to King Not Neptune to spare his life is really no more than an excuse to advertise that bloody camp choral show. What an absurdly forced and inauthentic addition to this film. The movie decides it has the bollocks to depict SpongeBob's first encounters with Gary, Patrick, Sandy, which doesn't fit with the timeline at all, but whatever. It just decides, oh yes, SpongeBob met every single one of his meaningful friends at this one summer camp when he was a child. Give me a break. It's unbearably lame, and it just drags on and on. Just 10 minutes of unearned, inauthentic flashbacks in the middle of this film's climax. What exactly does the film have to offer outside of being a shoehorned backdoor pilot for a pathetic spin-off? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's basically the first movie again, mixed with Where's Gary. Gary is missing. SpongeBob finds out that King Poseidon, who is just a completely sauceless ripoff of King Neptune, has snail-napped him. So SpongeBob and Patrick need to travel to the lost city of Atlantic City to get him back. Wow, SpongeBob and Patrick on a road trip to a dangerous city. Never seen that before. For some reason, they don't take the paddy wagon, and I just assumed that it was because SpongeBob has no continuity, and they just didn't want to have that reference to the first film. But then later, Mr. Krabs and the rest of the gang go to rescue SpongeBob, and they do take the paddy wagon. What? Why didn't SpongeBob just take it then? Whatever, at least it is in the movie, and I visibly pogged when I saw it. Anyway, SpongeBob and Patrick are joined by a robot Sandy maid, voiced by Awkwafina. Believe it or not, this is her most tolerable voice role to date. She is barely in the movie, and I can't say she was ever annoying. We cracked the code on how to put Awkwafina in a movie, ladies and gents. Anyway, they go to an old west town for some reason and meet Keanu Reeves as a tumbleweed. I knew about this element of the film through trailers, and I just assumed it was a cute, small cameo. But no, he's in the whole thing, basically. I don't have any investment in the character of Keanu Reeves as a tumbleweed movie. It would have been a lot funnier if he was just a small part of it, like David Hasselhoff in the first film. I don't want to keep bringing up how much better the first film is, but since this movie is basically just the first film but worse, I kinda have to. I would never level these complaints against the second film because it's very clearly trying to do its own thing and not beholding itself to just be a worse copy of what came before. The zombie Snoop Dogg Danny Trejo bit is boring. After that, the journey is practically over. They're already in Atlantic City. That was nothing! What a load of bollocks! I will admit, I did quite enjoy the montage of SpongeBob and Patrick gambling set to Living La Vida Loca. That was rather charming, I suppose. The musical number they all sing together wasn't half bad. I liked when the clarinet guy played My Heart Will Go On from Titanic. That was a pretty cute bit of licensed music. Oh, but then of course the movie has to ruin it all by ending with Take On Me. Enough with this godforsaken song already! Bloody hell, how many kids movies are gonna use it? Ultimately, what else can I really say? I definitely enjoyed more of the film than I expected, and there is genuine effort being put forward. I think Tim Hill could construct some really solid animation slapstick comedy when he actually tries. I can't call this an abysmal or even really a bad film, but it's just staggeringly mediocre. Not the absolute lowest point SpongeBob can ever get, but not something I ever really care to revisit. Max Keeble's Big Move. One of the rare original properties to come from Tim Hill. And not only that, this is his only collaboration with Walt Disney Pictures. Yes, I was able to watch this on Disney+. I always knew my subscription I barely use would pay off one day. Now, for whatever reason, my mates are obsessed with this film. Whenever we have our Saturday wheel nights where we seek out a bad movie to watch together, if we can't find one straight away, William will often just pull up Disney Plus and force us all to watch this film again. And the rest of my mates are all for it, which, I'll be honest, I can't fully fathom. I mean, I think it has some relatively charming elements, some funny characters, some goofy edits. It certainly isn't completely forgettable. But while I enjoy some portions of this film, it simply loses steam the longer it goes on, to the point where it becomes an exhausting chore to finish. So what is this film about anyway? Max Keeble is your average kid who no one understands. He's best friends with another kid played by Josh Blumenpeck in a Disney production? Truly a surreal experience seeing one of the most prominent stars of Nickelodeon in a Disney branded film. But he's obviously a talented child actor and he has some humorous bits in this film. Max's other best friend is Megan. Oh, come on, you're not even making the parallels subtle. Stop stealing from Drake and Josh, you bloody film that came out 3 years before Drake and Josh started airing. In any case, Max has to deal with an assortment of wacky shenanigans, including a bully who has a childhood fear of a frog mascot, a child who became rich off the stock market and now acts financially predatory towards his fellow students, an ice cream man with a personal vendetta against Max for exposing one of his health code violations a few years back, and the nefarious, child-hating principal who honestly has a lot of hilarious mannerisms and bits.
It wasn't my...
Sit! Cable! Cease! Yes, the reviews are in. Thanks, Rangoon, think fast.
Hell, this entire cast is conceptually very funny. I mean, the frog mascot terrorizing this kid is humorous, the stock market child is rather silly, the ice cream man is the center of the opening action sequence, which might be the most aggressively 2000s scene in cinema, complete with a bloody random Tony Hawk cameo? It's never explained what he's doing here. I mean, this is all a dream sequence anyway. But also it's like, why is Tony Hawk in the movie? I don't know, but it's funny.
Oh, that ice cream man sure is evil.
Oh, and I almost forgot about this popular girl Max has a crush on, and every single time she walks in the frame, they just start playing Hit Me Baby One More Time. Hilarious. Every single time it happens. The editing is also charming in a dated and so radical sort of way. And in general, the film has a lot of legitimately fun and zany energy to it. Honestly, it reminded me a lot of Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. It has a similarly cartoonish tone that really works to its advantage and makes this a fun watch. for a bit. Eventually, the zany humor stops firing on all cylinders, and it becomes a bit of a tiring watch. The plot is basically just Max Keeble is gonna have a big move. He's moving to Chicago and he's not excited. This is a bit of a nitpick, but I think they should have come up with a more boring sounding location for him to move to. Because I've been to Chicago and it's a very fun city. Easily my favorite one I've ever visited in the States. I know he's bummed about losing his friends and everything, but come on. It would have been funny if he was moving to like Alabama or something. No offense to any of you Yanks who live in Alabama, it's just what even is there? Anyway, since Max is moving, he realizes there are no consequences for anything he does. Thus, he begins screwing around at the school, starting food fights and other chicanerous antics, and getting revenge on all the antagonists I previously mentioned. Along the way, he loses sight of his friends as he starts to become more popular and begins blowing them off. So they have to do the third act breakup, and then they get back together and he beats the bad guys. But then he realizes you can't bully someone back because then you're just as bad as the bullies who you are bullying. I don't know if that's true, but whatever. I guess you gotta tell kids it's wrong to be anything bully adjacent. The film is fine. I would never call it atrocious in the second half, but it is pretty boring and bog standard. Which is a shame, because I think there was a fair deal of solid, fun comedy to be had at the beginning. I understand why my mates are so obsessed with this film, to some extent. But in terms of a slightly charming, so bad it's good Tim Hill feature film that I would rather put on as a crutch whenever we can't find another bad movie, I mean, Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever is right there. This is one of Tim Hill's objectively finest films to date, however. A mediocre, sometimes amusing, 5 out of 10 kids film. What a legacy to leave behind. Ladies and gents, I have a bit of a confession. A Tim Hill ranking was never a highly requested video by anyone. This entire ranking was a farce, consisting of my genuine opinions and ranking of these films, yes. But it wasn't through any genuine interest on my own or your parts to rank Tim Hill's filmography. You see, I used this topic as a front for my April Fool's Day gimmick this year. I made this entire video for one reason and one reason only. It's time for me to explain why my voice sounds so different than usual. You see, the truth is, I'm not actually a person who cares about any Tim Hill film other than Muppets from Space. I'm sure you undoubtedly heard the insincerity that was clearly in my voice throughout every other segment in this video. But that will plague me no longer. Now I'm talking like how I normally talk, sincere and caring about what I'm saying. The truth is, I made this entire video because I felt sorry for Muppets from Space. I wanted to rank it first place at something because this film is commonly regarded as the weakest Muppets film that killed its cinematic legacy for over a decade until the 2011 reboot. And I simply find this reputation to be abhorrent. I mean, goodness gracious, a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes? Frank Oz himself was dissatisfied with this film? No, it's certainly not the most emotional Muppets film out there, but it's a truly hysterical watch filled with so many great jokes, antics, and capers. I believe it to be Tim Hill's best work because of how accurately it captures the unhinged charm of the Muppets' wackier feature films. It shows that physical comedy is right up this man's alley, as is style. The scene where Gonzo gets electrocuted and then experiences a vision of a space fish? I mean, that's just creatively directed. It's hard to deny. The lack of original musical numbers may be a bit disappointing, but blimey, those needle drops are very fitting and delightful. I also simply can't get over the fact that the Muppets all live in a content house together in this film. Why did we never return to that brilliant idea? It makes them feel like a true family and strengthens their resolve to rescue Gonzo and Rizzo together. Gonzo is one of my favorite Muppets, and I greatly enjoy his journey of self-discovery in this film. I simply can't deny what a tremendous motion picture this is. It is Tim Hill's magnum opus, the one franchise that he attached himself to and left a positive impact on, rather than contributing to a detriment to its cinematic legacy. But At the end of the day, this entire video wasn't even about Tim Hill or any of his cinematic atrocities. This entire video was just about giving Muppets from Space a W for a change.
Yay!
I do feel rather bad for essentially throwing it a pity ranking, however. I may have come clean to you guys about my true intentions with this video, but now I have to tell Muppets from Space the truth. Listen, Muppets from Space, I've got something to confess, a reason why, well, why I asked you here tonight. And I know it isn't fair.
Oh, Schaff, I know why.
You do?
It's because I'm commonly regarded as the weakest Muppets film that killed its cinematic legacy for over a decade until the 2011 reboot, and you felt sorry for me. Well, isn't that right?
No, I asked you here because you are so fucking good!
Oh, Schaff! I'm glad you understood that we deserve each other. Don't you see? This is our chance. We deserve each other, don't we, Schaff?
You know what? Let's dance.
What?
I know. Normally I would hate to end with a big dance party, but let's be honest, spiritually, it's what Tim Hill would have wanted. Tim, you may no longer be with us, but this dance goes out to you.
Epilogue.
This shit means something to me! Psych!
My name is David. Dad, I want some ice cream. David, that is my name. David, I want another. David, where is my ball? I'm running out on the road. There is a car, and this is going to hit me.
I could have my Gucci on.
Not if I have anything to say about it, and I do.
Who the fuck are you?
My name is Edwin. I made the drink.
You're coming.
Me and GT had sex.
It's time to come. He's dead. Not if I have anything to say about it, and I do.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's all. It's Kendrick Lamar.
I hear you like the young, you like to see them in a thong, like they're slobbing on a child, ding dong, and you'll never be one of us. You'll never be one of us. You'll never be one of us because you a pedophile. You a pedophile, and you like to groom minors.
The wicked bitch is dead.
So, as you can clearly see right there, that was known to be one of the worst music festival experiences I've ever seen on this godforsaken earth. Let me just warn you now, don't ever go to a Gonzo music festival. Worst mistake of my life, and it could be yours next if this sort of shit happens again. Anyway, thank you for heeding my warning on this. Thank you all for coming to my episode. I am Robin, this has been Robin's Turntable, and... Wait, hold on, what was that? What do you mean I'm on Schaff Rellis' channel? Oh, god damn it!